Good morning. I've never done this before. I don't know a lot about video editing, but I'm gonna try to get excited about this announcement. Isn't that exciting? So join me for this. We've got a minute left. Minute of sitting around. I'll have a quick adjustment of the audio levels whenever it starts. Hello, Nada. But I conveniently, because I'm in furlough, and now I have some time to actually properly hone in on video editing, I thought, you know what? Let's mark the occasion. It's so well timed. We got 20 seconds left. So let's get excited about this announcement. Ooh. Oh, that's not high quality. There we go. Okay, well this is already gonna get killed, isn't it? Wow. What? I suppose this is what you would expect from a video editing trailer. Oh, I'm super loud, I'm sorry. Okay, blah blah blah. Let me turn that down. I'll turn it back up when somebody comes talking. If anyone actually does talk, I have no idea what this sort of thing's like. So I guess, yeah, all of these must be what has been edited in some way by Resolve, whether it's just the color correction or whether it's all of the editing. Oh, there was YouTube's own Tessa Violet. I don't know everybody. I don't know most of this, so. Although a lot of it looks like music videos. Oh, adverts. I'm drinking some Relentless Cherry. Oh, the sunset. Good God, how long does this trailer? Is this the whole thing? We watch a trailer made out of trailers. Oh. $8K HDR finishing, fantastic. Beautiful. I love Blackmagic's design for their logo. Ooh, Guy! It's Grant from Blackmagic
with DaVinci
Design.
Resolve 17. Now with COVID, we're not launching at a trade show like we'd normally do, so we thought we'd do things a little bit differently. We're going to be using trainers to show each part of DaVinci. I'll show the cut page, but the trainers can show the other parts. It allows them to show you in detail much better with different sections of DaVinci, because obviously DaVinci itself is a really big tool.
Pro.
This is also a very big software update. It's a very exciting update, actually. It's really exciting. Now, we're not adding any new pages into DaVinci Resolve 17, but we have done hundreds of cleanups, some really powerful new features. So let's get straight into it, and we'll show you what's new. But
the,
before we
the
start,
camera's hidden behind
this
the
is
monitor.
something I want to make a note of so you understand a little bit better what we're doing. We're going to be using screen recordings, and so we're going to be using low resolution monitors so you can see the whole UI, so you can really see what we're doing because we're moving around the whole user interface. It means the UI will be a little bit bigger, but it's a bit more cluttered. So normally when you're using DaVinci, you know, you've got a bigger monitor.
I love this.
In our case, we're going to be using low resolution monitors, so the user interface will be a little bit bigger. But it means you can see what we're
bless
doing.
him.
So I think if you're watching the video stream, you just want to play it full screen. Then you can see the UI details better and see what we're doing. So let's start with color. Now we've got a really big update. Like DaVinci Resolve 17's got big updates for colorists. Color grading is actually DaVinci's heritage.
Getting
so
the stuff out of the way.
It's an exciting to be really doing a major
about
change to DaVinci color correction. So let's play the clip and see what's new in DaVinci Resolve color correction.
Oh boy.
In DaVinci Resolve 17, several major new creative tools have been added to the palettes.
Look at that spec.
The HDR primary grading palette, the color warper, and the magic mask. There has also been a significant update to Resolve's internal color management, and a number of improvements have been made to the color page user interface. We'll begin with the brand new HDR primary grading palette, designed for targeted grading of wide latitude media. The palette splits up the video image into overlapping tonal ranges, or zones, so you can make precise color and contrast adjustments across multiple stops of light. The default palette preset features 6 tonal zones and a global wheel. You can see 3 zones represented at any given time, and shift to the other zones using the banking controls under the palette header. The global wheel affects the entire tonal range of the image, tapering at the white and black point to produce color and luminance changes that feel smooth and natural. Use the familiar control point to change hue, or the exposure and saturation controls to establish the brightness and color intensity.
It's wild. Like,
sliders on either side of the global wheel allow you to adjust temperature and tint.
Oh, I'm sorry, this isn't
in this
a Whippet
example,
stream.
we have a wide dynamic range image with an underexposed interior and overexposed exterior, a common occurrence in documentary or on-location shooting. After establishing the starting point of the grade using the global wheel, we can go to the options and include it when banking wheels, allowing us to focus on 4 tonal zones at once. The tonal range of each wheel can be reviewed and customized in the Zones panel.
Oh my god.
The graph represents the luminance range in stops. The center of the graph, 0, represents middle gray, also known as 18% gray. Clicking on a zone name in the sidebar highlights its position on the graph. The red gradient represents its falloff, an area of gentle transition at the start of a tonal range. Everything beyond the falloff is impacted by adjustments in that range. And, as you can see, there's substantial overlap between the zones, which reduces artifacting when grading. You can drag a zone line to increase or decrease the tonal range, or use the range and falloff fields underneath to change their numeric values. The black zone can be used to establish the darkest region in the frame. When working with overexposed areas, reducing the light zone exposure and adjusting saturation can help bring back details without needing secondary grading tools.
What is that?
An overlapping but more narrow zone, like the specular, can be used to bring out minor detail in the image highlights. Additional global controls can be found at the bottom of the palette.
I don't know what OMO is.
When adjusting contrast, the HDR palette eliminates unwanted saturation changes, resulting in perceptually uniform color intensity as you raise and lower contrast. When comparing this example before and after,
scopes look, man.
You can see how much the HDR palette accomplished with just a few adjustments. Another addition to the palettes is the color warper, a mesh-based warping tool that allows for quick, intuitive adjustments of color and luminance simultaneously.
Be careful.
The expand arrow at the top turns the color warper into a floating palette that can be resized for better detail control. There are 2 ways to start using the color warper. First, you can click directly in the viewer and begin dragging to change the values.
Cool.
An orange highlight will indicate your selected control point and its position on the color warper grid. The second way is to click within the grid itself to select the necessary control points. As you can see, multiple hues can be adjusted on the same grid. A drop-down menu at the top allows you to switch between the 2 color warper panels, hue and saturation, or chroma and luma. The controls in the chroma and luma grid are similar, though this time the interface is an interactive 3D cube mesh, with the hues represented on the horizontal axis and luminance represented on the vertical. The waveform in the center represents the current color and luminance values of the image. use the axis angle parameter to define the hue region you want to work on.
Whoa.
In this example, the low grid resolution makes it difficult to change the color of the sky without affecting the rest of the image. Controls underneath the grid let you change the division amount, increasing the chroma and luma resolution in cases where you need more color precision. The tools to the right allow you to refine your selection, and additional locking controls below allow for very precise color adjustments. By locking off a luminance section of the image, you can darken and color the sky without affecting the data in the shadows.
Whoa,
And then
cool.
click on the clouds in the viewer and drag to adjust their brightness and hue for some chromatic contrast. Compare the image
Neat.
before and after to see how much detail the color warper has brought into the sky without affecting the surrounding areas. Another major addition to the color page is the Magic Mask.
Magic Mask.
This is a neural
That's me.
engine-powered secondary
Magic
grading tool
Mask.
that can save hours of work by automatically creating and tracking masks to isolate a person or their physical features for targeted color grading.
What?
At the top of the palette,
What
two
you're
buttons
saying
allow
you
you
can
to
make me
select your
buy?
preferred tracking mode, a full person, or a specific physical feature,
that's
which
my
you can
one
select from the
edgy joke.
drop-down
Well, I
menu.
spent that early. That was Wednesday.
To begin
or
tracking,
Monday.
click and drag in the viewer to draw a small stroke on the person you wish to track. Small strokes are better, as they will follow movement without interruption. The Mask Overlay button is used to review the predicted selection.
Whoa, cool.
If you're satisfied with the mask, use the transform controls to run an analysis. After tracking, use the Mask Finesse controls to refine the resulting mask. With the track successful, disable the Mask Overlay and perform your secondary grade as needed. This before and after comparison shows how you can use the Magic Mask to pop someone out of a visually busy environment.
That's real cool.
Use the invert button if you wish to focus your selection outside the tracked person. This can be effective for grading backgrounds to be less distracting, or for some more creative application.
Also, that scope is.
DaVinci
so neat.
Resolve
you couldn't
17 has
even see
undergone the
scope.
biggest changes to its internal color management since it was first
Goddamn.
introduced.
Okay, I'm gonna
When you
move
now
myself
enable DaVinci Color
over here
Management
for
in the
now.
project settings,
And
you will see a
hopefully we'll
simplified
see
menu
the
offering a
scope,
list of common color workflow
so you can
presets.
also feel this,
Each
like,
preset includes a brief description of its
as
intended
much
use.
beauty as I'm feeling.
The DaVinci Wide Gamut and Intermediate Tonal Range is a new working color space listed in the settings. DaVinci Wide Gamut features a wider gamut than the UHD Rec 2020 standard, the ARRI Wide Gamut, and even ACES AP1. By mapping your timeline to the widest possible gamut at the start of your workflow, you're able to future-proof your projects and prepare them for both SDR and HDR delivery. Many other additions and improvements have been made to the color page interface. The viewer now features 3 new image white modes: diagonal, Venetian blind, and checkerboard. When creating smart filters on the color page, you now have a Show in All Projects checkbox to save favorite filters across all projects in your database. The GPU Scopes panel has improved scale and styling options for the waveform and vector scope. This includes the ability to change the waveform graticule scale to display in HDR nit values. The expanded
See, look
GPU
how pretty
scopes now
it is.
feature a 3x3 view, allowing you to set up multiple
Whoa.
identical scope types with unique
I like
parameters.
the one in the bottom middle.
And when working with dual monitors, it is now possible to drag the floating scopes window onto your second display.
Oh my god.
The Primaries Wheels palette has
I'm
been
gonna have so many
redesigned,
scopes full
with the
of
adjustment
displays.
controls now accessible in one panel at the top and bottom of the palette. The Curves palette now features
Wow.
a new HSL curve,
Whoa,
Sat
whoa.
versus Lume, in which
That
you can
scope
adjust the
looked
luminance
different.
of a specific
Whoa.
saturation range. You can now also pop out the Curves palette to allow for much finer curve adjustments.
I suppose that's because the image is so dark.
Some additional support and functionality has been
Whoa.
provided for colorists who work with LUTs, or lookup tables. It is now possible to create custom LUT paths and organize them into folders. Simply enter the preferences, click on the General tab, and add your LUT location. After refreshing, any subfolders in that location will appear as folders in the LUT panel. And as with regular LUTs, you'll be able to access them in the contextual menus of the timeline clips and nodes. If you are working on a collaborative project in a facility, you can add your LUTs to a shared folder on the server so you and your colleagues can access
Think
the
about
same
those
lookup tables
LUTs.
while you work.
Whew.
The Resolve Effects library has been expanded with 11 new creative tools
Oh my
and
god,
updates to its
effects.
existing effects.
Can we
Among them,
make it so
the
that
Motion Trails
clips...
effect can be used to imitate
Whoa.
a slower shutter speed. while false color allows you to check the exposure
Okay.
values of your video based on specific camera model ranges. There's also creative
I'm
mode in
gonna
which you
have
can
that.
emulate posturization looks like
Just
thermal
always have that.
or night vision.
Oh my god, they're really cool. And they're
If you
like
have a DaVinci
aren't as
Resolve
bad.
Advanced panel, these new features are supported with an
The
optional
times I've seen
redesigned
that, yeah.
keycap set.
Those things happen.
Advanced and
Oh,
mini
wow.
panels can now be connected to remote grading machines, and
Remote
multiple
grading
clients can now
machines.
connect to the same remote grading
Finally,
session.
I can get an A.
These
A
are just some
plus.
of the new features in DaVinci Resolve 17's color page.
So as you can see,
Oh,
this is a big
Steve's
update
back.
for colorists. Yeah, and a
Thank
lot of the
you,
features in
Steve.
here have been years of engineering work. So it's really
I'm not a
exciting to see
colorist, but
these
that is quite
features
exciting.
finally get into the shipping product. Now, if you're using the DaVinci Resolve Advanced Console, we have a new set of keycaps in DaVinci Resolve 17. You can use the old keycaps, but there's now a new set of keycaps. There's been a lot of changes in DaVinci over time, and so we thought the keycaps could be a lot better to support those changes, but also just in general have better usability than the old set of keycaps. Now, the DaVinci Advanced
Steve,
Panel keycaps
after
is a
my
whole
own
new set of
heart.
keys. Now, there's
With
the
his,
keys and also a tool to help you
with his
install them.
keycaps.
Now, you can swap out each key individually. Each key is replaced. Every key's got a replacement. Now, the DaVinci Advanced Panel keycaps will be available now, and they'll be priced at $5.95. And once you've installed them, it's like getting a whole new panel because the entire keycap set will be replaced.
It's
So
like
it's a pretty
getting an
nice
entire
upgrade.
new panel
And it's
for the
worth checking out.
$600 keycaps.
Now, let's talk about audio. We've got some really exciting updates to Fairlight.
It better be.
We've also made Fairlight more accessible to new users because you can use it better with a mouse and keyboard. It originally was designed, obviously, for the big studio consoles. So we've made some changes there. But there's also some very powerful updates in its feature set in general. So let's play the clip and check it out.
Yes. Play that clip, Steve.
The Fairlight
Whoa, look
page
at
in
all this
DaVinci
sound.
Resolve 17 is faster and more powerful than ever, with an enhanced edit selection toolset, automatic transient detection, comprehensive Dolby Atmos
feeling,
integration, plus the introduction of a brand new audio
Hundreds of
core
hours of
engine
work just
and
looking at all
FlexBus
these
customizable busing, clip-aware automation, and
all
more.
these streams.
Let's start with the improved edit selection mode.
Turn
This
it down a
update
bit.
takes Fairlight's multifunction edit selection
God.
tool and shortcuts to a whole new level
Look at all this
with a more advanced toolset, live editing preview, and lightning fast response time even during playback and recording. Edit selection mode combines the selection arrow and the range tools to give you an advanced edit selection tool that automatically changes based on where and how you click. Drag the edges of a clip to trim
Isn't
the
that
outer
everything?
tail. Drag the volume
Isn't
curve
that
to
how
change
computers
the
work?
level, and
Things
option click
change
to
depending
add
on where
volume
and how you
keyframes.
click. Yeah.
Move the pointer
true.
to the lower half of a clip for the grab tool functions. Click
Love
to
it.
select an entire clip and drag to move it.
Ooh.
Click the upper half of a clip to set an edit point or drag to select a range.
I think
The
this is
new
how it
live
works
preview
anyway,
feature
right?
updates the viewer while you work, so you can see a
Whoa.
live update while
Cool.
dragging a selection range and moving clips in a timeline.
This is really intuitive.
In
Hooray.
edit selection mode, playback will always start at the new edit selection whenever you press the spacebar, so you can click anywhere in the timeline and instantly preview the audio
Spacebar
from
in
that point
space.
without having to move the playhead. Modifier keys offer additional functionality. Hold Shift and drag to extend an edit selection. Option drag to duplicate a selection, and
Oh, no.
release the mouse to
Using
paste.
a Mac.
And use Command
Option.
or Shift to extend selections to
Command.
additional
Oh, wow.
tracks. In edit selection mode, you can solo scrub
supposed
the
to know
audio
that
for
market.
any clip anywhere in the timeline. Just hold Shift and Command while dragging over the clip. When you scrub a clip with the edit selection tool, the corresponding track is temporarily soloed. Keyboard shortcuts are the secret
That's
to
cool.
unleashing the full power and speed of Fairlight's edit selection mode. For quick access to the edit selection
Whoa.
toolset, use the right-click context menu in the timeline. DaVinci Resolve 17 includes a set of shortcuts listed next to each menu option so you can learn as you go. If you're coming from another system, you can assign your own shortcuts in the keyboard customization window. There's even a Pro Tools
I love good
preset to
keyboard.
make the transition to Fairlight even easier. Use a standard 3-button mouse and modifiers for additional zooming and scrolling options. Hold Option while scrolling the middle mouse button to zoom horizontally around the playhead or edit selection. Hold Shift to zoom vertically around the selected track. Hold Command to scroll earlier or later in the timeline, or scroll without a modifier to scroll up or down to higher or lower tracks. And finally, you can hold Shift Option together to scroll the
Hey, look,
waveform
that view is
zoom
floating.
without changing volume.
Ooh,
DaVinci
boy.
Resolve 17 also
Ah.
has transient detection, which
Let me
can
just
be
Bluetooth
used to
speaker turned
automatically
off.
identify transients
about that.
inside audio clips. Once detected, the transients can be used for edit selection. The combination of Fairlight's transient detection and edit selection shortcuts have the potential to further increase your audio editing speed and efficiency
Whoa.
without the need for additional hardware or third-party tools. DaVinci Resolve 17 Studio is now
God.
certified with fully integrated Dolby Atmos home theater workflows. Studio users can now open, sync, and play back master files in the Resolve timeline. Let's preview a master file in the media page. Here, the internal Dolby Atmos renderer is playing the clip in a 714 channel format, but the file actually references all the content in the master file, up to 128 bed and object tracks. You can use clip attributes to change the output format to a speaker layout that matches your monitoring configuration. In this case, I'll keep the original format and create a new timeline with the clip. As you can see in the edit page, here's the new timeline with the 714 render, and I can sync and play the clip. In the Fairlight page, you can see the channels in the timeline and the Dolby badge to indicate it is actually a rendered master file. You can render the timeline in the Deliver page in an IMF package as an IAB MXF file or as an ADM broadcast WAV file. You can also import a master file through the immersive audio options in the Fairlight page to recreate the full Dolby master file, including content, bed and object tracks, as well as panning metadata. To see the panning metadata, increase the track height and choose which panning curve you'd like to see in the timeline tracks. Each track in the mixer shows live panning updates during playback. Double-click one of the track pan controls to open the full pan window, where you can see the panning automation and controls for the selected track. Or use Fairlight's Space View scope to visualize all the objects used in the master file at the same time, so you can see how they relate to the immersive space and one another. Solo tracks to isolate their objects in the Space View scope. Or change a track's color so the corresponding object stands out among the other objects.
Whether the soundscape fits the mood of a scene.
Playback and monitoring is fully integrated with Dolby's internal renderer, so you can monitor, trim, and downmix to standard formats.
I mean, I won't use this at all.
And export a new master file when you're ready.
Streaming in Atmos, I don't think it's possible.
Offers all the tools you need to create, mix, and deliver immersive projects. Or use the AAF options to import a session from another system like Pro Tools.
It's really pretty. I like the interface. And I think it's nuts that you can have a workflow with 87 audio channels to it.
It's an advanced high-performance audio engine designed to let you work with up to 2,000 tracks of simultaneous playback with
2,000
low
tracks.
latency on a single system.
2,000 tracks.
This completely scalable hybrid engine eliminates the need to run multiple systems for large format projects. To support the new audio engine and high track count capabilities is the revolutionary new FlexBus busing architecture, designed for the ultimate flexibility in user-defined bus types and signal routing control.
I can't even
FlexBus
imagine
uses logical, cascading buses to help you build up each main sound
importing
group from smaller mixes
2,000
for more
tracks,
control and
let
better
alone
sound.
being able to adjust
Legacy
anything
fixed
like that.
busing was rigid, with limited options for a fixed
Like
number
that has
of
to be
main,
machine done.
submix, and auxiliary buses.
Unless you have like a team of people
FlexBus
whose
offers
job
a
it is
single
just to like
user-defined
order the
bus
2,000
that has
tracks
the
in a
ability to
DaVinci
pass
Resolve
signals
file.
from mono to fully immersive formats up to 26 channels wide and can be changed at any time. Bus outputs and sends can be patched one at a time in the mixer or all at once in the bus assign window. And users can control the routing of the buses in any way that's needed for the project, including bus to bus, bus to track, or track to bus. With FlexBus, you can direct signals to many different places at the same time to achieve complex mixing. For example, if you need to generate two mixes with different output levels, simply split the final mix bus to two more buses, each with a limiter set to the necessary output level, creating two different mixes at one time. Another awesome new feature in the Fairlight page is the ability to link separate mono clips so you can edit them as if they were a single clip. Once linked, you can also render the link clips into a new multi-channel file. Here is the new multi-channel clip in the media pool and in the timeline. If you ever need to break a multi-channel clip into separate mono tracks, you just right-click the track header and choose Convert to Linked Group.
This is
Now
not
you have
what I
mono
particularly...
clips in separate tracks
Actually, no, this
that are
was what I
linked as a
expected.
group with a single 5.1 channel
I
fader.
expected it is sort of
And if you open the link group window,
be going
you
through
can
a bunch of
unlink the
features that mean
tracks,
nothing
leaving
to
you
me.
back where you started with linked mono clips in separate tracks. Notice in the mixer that the mono tracks are still panned to the proper 5.1 channel. And finally, to take the example full circle, you can always right-click to unlink them. Fairlight's powerful automation toolset has been upgraded as well, with new clip-aware functionality that you
I
can
thought it
toggle
was gonna
on
be
and
the
off
most
with
boring
the
one for me.
Automation Follows Edit button. When enabled, automation data is added to the audio clips themselves, so edits will be reflected in the embedded automation. Move a clip, the automation follows. This also applies to clips that
cool.
are copied and pasted somewhere else in the timeline. Automation Follows Edit is great for tightening edits and moving whole scenes. To move an entire show, use the universal editing shortcuts to select all, cut, move the playhead, then paste. As you can see, all of the automation moved with the clips. These are just some of the exciting new audio features that you'll find on the Fairlight page in DaVinci Resolve 17.
So you can
Steve,
see this is a really big update for
finally.
Fairlight. We think it'll really help people who are getting started in audio post-production. But we've also had a lot of people asking about getting it to work with a mouse and keyboard, a bit like Pro Tools. So we think it'll take care of a lot of Pro Tools people as well.
Oh my
But it's
god, this
also got some
dude, I
really
love
solid
him.
features for
He's so
traditional
down to
Fairlight
earth.
customers who are using the
He's
really
like,
big
"Eh."
consoles. So it's really got something for everyone, we believe.
We think it'll help.
Now, while we're talking about consoles, let's focus on that. Yeah, we've got a really good range of fantastic studio consoles. You know, go from 2-bay all the way up to 5-bay.
Cool.
Now, originally, Fairlight only
What if I get
worked
one of
with
those?
consoles. That was came with consoles, and we've done a lot of work to make it work with a keyboard and mouse. And that really helps people get started because you don't need a console. But we do have a big gap between using it with a mouse and using it with a studio console.
God.
So we really needed
New
something
products.
in between.
New products.
Now we've come up with a new console. It's called the Fairlight Desktop Console. We've got some slides to show you so you can see what it looks like.
Yes, please.
You can see there it is there.
Oh my god,
It's
look
got
at
12
that.
incredibly high
How
quality
pretty.
faders. And they're flying faders with touch sensitivity as well. Now you can see the transport
You gotta
controls
say,
there
you
on the
gotta give
right-hand
it some
side with
Blackmagic. Do you
the
know how to
really
make
nice metal
things?
search dial.
Does
Feels
look
really
pretty.
good. The studio
Look at that
monitoring
blue
controls
stop
at the top
button.
right-hand side.
Blue isn't what I
There's a whole bunch of
associate, but I
channel
guess it,
LCDs with pan controls on them.
guess
But all those
you can't
channel
really make it
control
red
LCDs
because
can
that's
also be
play
used
in this
for
context.
menuing. So all the knobs can
That's
be used
cute.
together for a single channel. So example, you know, if you push like the EQ button on the left-hand side, then all the knobs will become EQ settings. So it's really nice. And you've got all kinds of power. You know, those knobs can be switched across to do EQ, pan, and all the dynamics like limiters and compressors. Now it plugs in with USB or Ethernet. There's a slide at the back. You can see the rear connectors. You notice there's a HDMI connector there. Now the big Fairlight consoles have these really large LCD monitors on them. And we wanted the desktop console to have a similar feature. So this helps you move between the desktop consoles and the big studio consoles. So we think it's a really important feature and it's an exciting feature as well. So you can plug a 1080 HD TV or computer monitor into the connector there, and you get the full
I could have my own Fairlight
channel
monitor.
summary of all the channels and the same, very similar kind of status.
Finally gonna have a use for all
big
these
studio
screens.
consoles have. So that's really cool.
I'd probably end up getting it.
Now there's
Like, I'm
loads
not
of
gonna
audio
get it
meters
to,
on
like,
the LCD monitor.
audio
all bussing's displayed
production.
there. But also the whole LCD can switch to focus on a single channel. So normally,
But
you
if
see
I
an
were
overview there, you
to,
can see all your panning information.
this would be
If you
cool,
select
I'm
some of
sure.
the processing, then it'll go to a single channel. And you can see there's a slide there that shows that, and you can see there's lots of information
That's so
about the single channel,
intense.
and all the various processing.
Like, if you
curves,
see
and that's
that
really amazing. So
in
now I have one
someone's like
here,
home
set up,
office,
so
you're like, wow,
let's
this
pan across
person
and have a
knows
look,
what
and
they're
you can see
doing.
one working,
That's the
a real
only
one.
advantage I could see
Now
this for
you
me.
can see it's an all metal design.
Oh my god, cool.
It's got
He's just got it
desktop
next
mounted,
to him.
this one. It's got fold out feet, so you can tilt it up. That's tilted up there. But you can also flush mount it in the desk if you cut a hole because it's got a ridge around the outside, so you can actually make it flush. Now all the faders are the same as the studio consoles. They're really good quality. They're the best quality possible faders we could find. You can see they're
The best
beautifully
quality.
smooth and they just track nicely.
Those
nice
faders.
DC motors, beautiful bearings.
Ooh.
Now all the
Beautiful
faders and knobs are
bearings,
touch
yeah.
sensitive, so the knob
Steve,
here and
I
the faders
agree.
here are both touch sensitive.
Ooh.
The UI will display when you're touching. It'll tell you that you're holding it. Now, you can also do more than 12 channels.
I love this dude.
So you can
He's great.
adjust some levels and then like
This-
bank. So if I adjust
I have such a feeling that this
some
dude
levels
is just
here,
not too
and I
comfortable
can bank
being
across
live.
to the next 12, and I can just keep banking through.
Whoa!
So you can see that you can have a lot
Cool.
of channels. Now, we've got a really large multi-track
It
project
was
on this
moving
iMac.
them.
So if I turn on
It
the,
moved them.
the automation, which I'll do with the button up there,
Ghosts.
there's automation controls here. You can see I can press play
That
and you
was
can
so
watch all the faders
cool.
move around and see how all that works.
Look.
And there are obviously all the flying faders there. You can see it go. You can even bank across while you're doing that. So it all just tracks, and as you know, you can have hundreds of channels.
No wonder it's so
really,
pricey
really
and so
nice.
cool looking.
Now you've got all the navigation functions on the lower left over the side there, so you can navigate the software from the panel. Now there's transport controls on the right side.
he
You
was
can see the
stoked
search
about
dial
that.
there. Now that
He's
search
trying to
dial
play
by
off it.
default is
It's
actually
cool.
jog, but it can also do shuttle and scroll as well. So, for example, if I do shuttle, I can do shuttle. Sorry, that's scroll. So you can see I'm scrolling up and down the timeline faster, but normally it's just jog, so you can move around much finer control.
Whoa!
Also, there's a zoom button down the bottom here, so you can spend a lot of time in audio zooming the timeline in and out, and you can do that from the search dial. So if you push that button there, and you can do that with your thumb when you're using it. Obviously, I'm using it from behind, but if you're on the other side, you can do it with your thumb, and you can get all that working.
I have just enough
Now all your studio monitoring
knowledge
controls,
of this
your
that I can
speakers are
be
all on the
like,
top
wow,
right
this
here.
is real cool.
And of
Not
course,
just
the
for the
channel
moving
controls are really where all the
that
power
part, but
is.
like
So
that's really convenient.
Each channel has an LCD,
Especially like
and,
on the thumb,
and a fader and a
on
knob.
the thumb place.
Now the way they work is the knobs and the buttons are on a single channel. So you've got a select button and a solo and mute and a knob. And they work on an individual channel. So you can do like, level adjustments. Oh, I've got the automation on. You can do level adjustments and controls of pan. But you can then get all those knobs to work together. So if you press any of the processing selection on the left-hand side, so for example, if I'll press EQ so you can see what happens. Now if you can get the overhead camera and see, that's all the channel controls. You
Please
see
press EQ. Come on, do it.
the information about
Oh
each
my
channel,
God,
but if I
stop
push
teasing.
EQ,
There we
so
go.
down there now, what they've done is they've switched over, and now each knob is actually one of the parameters of the EQ. So if I adjust, like the gain of the high frequencies here, what I'm now doing is this knob is on, is being used to adjust just that one parameter. So it's really nice. You can use all the knobs to work together. So if I change to compressor, whoops, compressor there. Now you'll get a whole bunch of compressor settings, and all the knobs will work together. So it's really nice. But it gets more interesting with the external LCD.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, this is really exciting because we think that one of the great things about having the desktop console on the monitor here is it's a fantastic way of training people without using the cost of a giant console. Now you can see if I go back, I'll turn off.
Yeah, this is like
press settings,
prosumer
you get the
stuff.
summary back on the
isn't it?
monitor. You can see,
Or like
all the meters and the channel
satellite
status.
studios and stuff like
And
that.
it's very similar graphics to the giant studio consoles. And so the great thing is so what we're looking at right now is an overview of all the channels that you see here. And each channel has its pan position in 3D space, you can see there. But as I said, when the display switches over to a focus mode, that happens when you select any of the processing on an individual channel. So, for example, if I go back and press the EQ, and you probably noticed this before, now you can see that's changed over to a focused mode, and on the LCD, you can see that it's selected the EQ parameters, and it's also, there's a curve there, and if I adjust the gain, you can see that's adjusting there, and you can see there's a nice curve and everything on the front, so you can actually see what's going on. Same as if I adjust the compressor. Sorry, if I select the compressor, you can see now that the knobs on the bottom, the enabled settings have switched across to the compressor settings. So everything about the channel is displayed on this one display. It's really, really nice. And you get all this just by plugging in a monitor. So it's very, very cool. Now the Fairlight desktop console will be available before the end of the year.
$3,500.
It'll be priced at $3,495. We think it's the highest quality desktop audio console available.
No, of course.
It's
you
an
do.
amazing console, and it really fills the gap between a mouse.
I mean, I
and a
certainly
studio
don't know
console.
anything that's
And
better
it'll be
quality.
really exciting.
Look at
I
all
think,
those
when it's available
speakers.
later this year.
Plus,
But it also just looks great. I mean, I think it just looks really nice. I mean, when you're playing, you see all the
Imagine
meters
being
are up,
in
and it just looks
that
really nice.
on
It's
that
just,
desk.
it's incredible. I think
all
having the
those
LCD on is really,
speakers
really
around
nice.
you.
Now, I'll just better stop, I guess, so I can keep talking. So, look, a lot of the one thing that we've also noticed over the last few months is a lot of Fairlight customers.
He's doing
wanted to
so
build
well.
custom
I'm so proud of
consoles.
you, Steve.
Now we have the 2, 3, 4, and 5 bay consoles, but a lot of people would like to build their own.
Look at those
And so
desks.
now we sell these Fairlight consoles in modular form because also a lot of people like to not fully populate a console when they buy it. So they can buy
God, all
modules
those
as they go.
knobs.
But we want to
Oh my
help customers
God.
build custom furniture. So the first step, and one of the first
It's so
requests
much
people had is
work.
putting their own monitors or televisions on. It's not
This
using
is
the built-in
wild. Like,
monitors that you can buy the Fairlight consoles, but using their own televisions or their own monitors.
I'm
Sometimes
definitely
your
not
monitor
the
stands and things
demographic
like
to be
that.
watching
So
this.
we have a Fairlight
I love
HDMI
it.
interface that we've developed, and what it allows you to do is instead of plugging the monitor in and using
So
a
that
monitor,
anyone that's
it
watching
allows
the
you to
video
use
is
any
also not the
16:9
demographic.
HDMI
But
TV on monitor.
oh,
Now I'll
that-
show you what it looks like.
cool.
There it is there. So it's just a simple little converter. You plug your Ethernet into it.
And then
It looks
SDI
like one of the
out,
big monitors.
and
It's
then-
actually the same electronics that drives the monitor
Right.
that's in the Fairlight Studio console. In fact,
Wow,
this
it's raining a
electronics is
lot
also in
outside
here.
here.
And it'll then drive a HDMI or SDI display, so you can choose what type of display you want. Now that's $259, and
Oh, wow.
it's available now. And if you buy one of those, when you're building the
Neat.
console in the console application in the DaVinci software, you can actually the software will see this as being one of the monitors. Then you can use your own monitors. So I think that's pretty nice.
That's so cool.
But the other thing is that people are doing is they're also building their own custom furniture. Like they're literally building their own.
So if you had a
desks and they're
machine that
putting,
had too many,
the
like
bays in.
already
So we
had
really wanted to help
a
people
ton
do
of
that.
monitors on, you could use that to extend it for
now,
Fairlight.
The problem, of course, is that you can create desks any sort of shape. You can create all sorts of customized desks.
Instead of
But the problem is it can be a little difficult to get all the bays in and aligned
modular.
properly. Particularly, you don't want the bays interfering with each other. So we really wanted to help carpenters be able to really set these up properly.
Because if
and
you
keep
you want
everything
to get
accurately
dedicated
aligned.
Fairlight,
So what we're
monitor,
also
you
going to be
probably,
shipping is these mounting bars. Now I've got one here. This is a 3-bay, I believe. So this is what it looks like. So this is what the inside.
This
of the
desk is
console
getting
looks
real
like.
cluttered.
And what we have is we have all these pins, these mounting pins here. And what
Let
they
me just
do
get this mounting
is
bar from
they-
underneath my desk.
it's really heavy.
You're gonna
What
get a
they do is
workout, Steve.
The bays mount into these pins, and it keeps them accurately aligned so they don't interfere with each other. They don't strike each other if you lift them up. So the bays in the Fairlight console actually tilt up, and you can put the modules in.
Oh, can I be
So we'll be
friends
selling
with
these.
Steve, please?
And also,
I
there's
think
a
his name
side,
is Steve, right?
put
I
this
hope I'm
down.
not like using the
Steve.
wrong name for
there's a
this
side
guy.
mounting arm kit as well. I'll show you that.
This is
Now
so
what
cool.
this does is this is a other
This
parts
is
will be available.
wild. Like this
Now
much.
what happens
This
all
is
the
a
modules
conference,
that you buy with Fairlight.
not a conference.
If you
This is
buy
a
a giant console,
announcement
you kind
of
of get all this,
a new version of a
these side
video
mounting arms,
editor.
you put the various modules in, and the monitor sticks in there, and then this will then slide into the big console, and it pivots up and down. So what you really want to is have these, and you need the mounting bar, and it lets you build your own custom furniture. It's a little bit big, so I'll move it out of the way here. Now all these parts will be available now, and the prices will be on the DaVinci website. And there's a whole range of different options you need if you're building
nice
various
desk.
types of custom consoles. Okay, so now we're up to the cut page. Now, with the cut page, what we're really trying to do with the cut page is generate
Here we go,
sort of
cut
like a
page.
third generation of editing. You know, if
Third
you think back,
generation of
we had
editing.
linear editing in the 1970s and 1980s. Then it went to non-linear editing with editing software in the sort of late 80s and early 90s. But there hasn't been a lot of innovation since. You know, there's been some very good incremental updates. There's also been much better availability of editing software. But we wanted to do something sort of bigger. We wanted to create a next generation. And
What?
so, you know, the problem we've got, well, what we essentially want to do is a combination of hardware and software. We thought that was really the way to go. You know, traditional editing software is really designed to work with a mouse. And so the difficulty, of course, is trying to add any sort of hardware integration, and that's quite difficult. With the cut page, what we really focused on was designing a page that would work with hardware. Now, the DaVinci Resolve editor keyboard is very traditional,
DJ
but
and
it's
video
really the
editing.
first
That's what it's
step
going to
to
be.
the tool.
Yeah.
But it is very
But with
traditional. It's got the
pens.
QWERTY keyboard, so it's kind of more like a keyboard that would work with a normal edit software. What we really wanted to do is
Editing with a pen.
go further, because that panel is
Using
really
a,
designed for older
a
edit
drawing
software in many
tablet.
ways because of the QWERTY keyboard. So we've been working on something else, and that's where our focus was. So what I want to do is introduce the DaVinci Resolve Speed Editor. Now it's different to a regular edit
Ooh,
keyboard.
look
and
at
I'll
that
bring
little tiny
one out.
keyboard.
I've got one here.
Single-handed speed editor. This is cool.
And now it's different to a regular
Ooh.
keyboard because it's
I
only got the keys
genuinely like
specifically
this.
designed for the cut page, and so it's faster. It's much faster to use. But what I'll do is I really want to show you the cut page features.
Hey, look, the
first.
lights on.
So
Is this
I'll come back to the
wireless?
speed editor later.
This is a
and I'll
wireless
show you how that
keyboard
works. It'll be a bit less
with
confusing that
a
way. So
seek.
let's go over to
a
the
seek knob.
computer. I'll put this down here. I've actually got an overhead camera. So
Oh
I'll
my
put
god,
that in
it's
the right position
wireless.
so we can play with it later. But what I'll do is I'll go across to the computer here and we'll create a new project and keep going. And I'll show you what's new on the cut page. So if you can
They're
cut
like
across to
QWERTY.
the UI.
We'll make our own
Okay, the first thing
keyboard.
I want to do is create a new project. Demo.
Oh my god,
Cut page.
he's doing it live. He's
Okay.
doing it
Now
live.
we
It's
need
gonna
to
go
load in some
wrong.
clips.
Steve, no, don't do
I've
it.
got some clips here on the desktop.
We believe you. You don't need to prove us.
Here we go.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. I'm so nervous for him.
Now I also need to create a new timeline.
So what? He's got a mouse, and
Now these are handheld
and
shots I took
keyboard,
in
so-
London. So what we'll do is let's create an edit first.
okay. So is he gonna do it once with
Go
the
to
keyboard and
clips.
mouse? I feel like I'm
And
witnessing
look for
some
demo
magic
clip.
trick right now.
That looks pretty good. Put an in point, put an out point there. And let's find another clip and do the same. There's a nice clip. Now, one of the new things in DaVinci Resolve is you can now manually edit durations. So I've got a nice
Whoa,
5-second
cool.
clip there.
Ooh
Drop that in
boy.
the timeline.
Ooh boy.
So I've got
I'll have to remember that.
a nice edit. However, let's use the source tape because this is actually how normally you would edit, but it's a little slow. So by using the source tape, we can look at all our media in one go. So I'll just go up here and select the source tape. Now I'm looking at everything I've got. So let's go and find a clip. I'll take this one. Select an in out point. Select an out point. We'll append. Let's also find another clip. There's a nice clip of people walking. Scroll along a little.
I got orange. Can I be
point
your
pin.
colleague too?
Or we can
What
also
colleague?
do a smart insert.
I
So
don't
if you want to
understand.
insert, you can see the
Sorry.
indicator here. So if I find a different clip, like this one here, that looks pretty nice.
You can do
I
some
can
working
just go smart
together,
insert
guess.
here, and it'll insert.
But I don't work with
at
anybody
this
who makes
transition point,
film.
At this edit
This is
point here.
purely my own.
See, there it is.
Well, I do work people with
Okay, so now we've got
film,
a
but
nice little
we
edit.
don't work on film together.
Now, what's really exciting about the new cut page is there's better transitions and a whole new palette
at
design.
work?
So if we
How
first
excited
off,
work.
because we're going to be adding some transition, let's enlarge the view a little bit. You can see we can enlarge
This is
that now
purely me trying to
here,
learn
and then
stuff.
we can get a better view on what we're doing. So if we go to the transitions palette,
Is it?
we can see a whole bunch of new transitions, and you can roll over the transitions to try them
I
out.
really want some corn.
let's have a look.
now.
So we've got the normal sort of,
I have a bit of sweet
Resolves.
corn.
and I can roll over some wipes.
Corn on the cob.
Got some wipes here.
Oh my god. These
And we've
transitions.
also got fusion transitions down the bottom here.
Oh please, show me
I can
some
do
Mission fusion
all kinds of interesting
transitions.
things.
Whoa! Oh my god! I was trying to make a joke earlier about burning the clips away,
This one's kind
but
of
like
interesting.
genuinely, there is a burn away
Noise dissolve. away.
transition.
So
That's
what we
so
can do
funny.
is
I love
you can
it.
add the transition just by
My
dropping it
god,
onto the
Orange,
edit.
can I be your colleague too? You're being so supportive.
just
Oh
like
yeah. No, I think this is.
So we've got a nice new
The
palette
dude's doing pretty well actually.
transitions in the new cut page.
He must
So
just
play that.
edit all the time.
And let's scroll
Just
through.
all the time. He
nice.
isn't a
And I can also change the duration
presenter. I think he.
any way I want, and it'll
I don't know what
change
this
the,
dude is.
the way the
Is he a
edit flows.
developer? He doesn't seem to be a developer. He doesn't have the same sort of
Now we also have
feeling
new
about
effects
him.
and a new effects palette.
I'd
So
like
I
to
can go up
know
the effects. You can see all the effects. And there's a lot of
what
effects
he
in here.
does.
So you can see I've got a whole range of different
Video
effects.
call
I've got all
effect.
kinds of like blurs. There's a zoom blur, which is kind of cool. There's a mosaic.
Show me the video call. It's
All kinds of
COVID
interesting
season. Please,
features.
please go up.
Stylized effects,
Ah.
color effects, generators.
It's cool though. I'm enjoying that beauty
Here's some of the
effect.
stylized effects.
Automatic dirt removal, deflicker, vignette,
Quite
stylize.
dramatic.
Yeah, really quite dramatic.
Emboss. Vignette. We've also got some other ones like stylized effects, texture effects. One's really fun one is analog damage, and I'm really shocked about how well it does. I'll drag it down. It's really quite amazing. It looks like an old VHS machine, and it's really quite accurate in what it does. So you can see if I play that, it really looks like an old VHS machine. Now the other thing we've done down the bottom too is you'll notice that
That's
when you
pretty
do
good.
add an effect,
I admit.
there's a larger effects icon down the bottom.
It
'cause
makes
they're
it look
hard
like
to,
shit.
to catch sometimes. So one
Who
thing
would
that's
have
also
thought?
worth noting, all these effects are designed for feature film users. But we think they're also a lot of fun for everyone. But a good example of this is the lens flare and the lens distortion. They actually simulate actual lenses. So these go well beyond simple
Yeah,
NLE effects because they're
I'm supportive. person,
effects
I
designed
think,
for
in
high-end
general.
work, but at the same, so that we have to do them in a different way. They have to be sort of almost accurately implemented versus just making them look like like a lens.
Okay,
effect.
so
they're really
what's this
very,
in
very
relation to with
high-quality
the
effects.
with the
There's
cool
also
little
new titles
keyboard?
and a titles palette.
I think we've gotten a
There's
bit
some really nice
sidetracked
titles.
here.
We've upgraded some of the titles, but we've also got some new
Ooh.
Fusion titles which use the Fusion engine. So let's add a title and see what it looks like.
Please.
So I'll give our timeline a little bit of space. See, we've got a nice title here. Actually, I should
Cool.
move it across because it's getting in the way of our burn effect, as you can see it there. It animates on. I can move it down.
Sample text, clean and simple. Beautiful.
Now we also have some new timeline features. You've noticed that we've got a much thicker CTI now. Just looks much more substantially larger, and it's a bit easier to read and grab hold of. The other big thing we've got is when you insert a clip now, it'll keep its transitions. So, for example, if I put a transition, I'll go back to the media pool, and I'll select a, here's a nice clip. Put an in point, just a 5-second duration, but I'll also put a dissolve on both these points here. When I drag that clip into this point, it'll keep the transition on both ends. Now, when I move a clip, it'll also keep the transition. So if I grab this clip and move it down to here, it'll move the transitions with it.
Nice.
We've also made some improvements to the timeline spacing.
But what's
So
to
when
do
you go
with
down
this
to a,
keyboard? Come on,
large
Steve.
viewer, it
I
doesn't
feel
have as
like
much free space here. One of the other things we've done
I feel like we
is if
were
you're
talking about
using a
keyboard. Now
moving
we're looking at
CTI,
transitions. I
like where the
mean,
CTI moves a bit like the edit page.
I
we've
love
now added the proper
transitions and I
scroll
love
bar in,
titles and stuff.
so you can
But
scroll around, and this now works exactly the same
what's
as
it with the keyboard?
if the edit page does. And if you want to work like that, then that's exactly the way the edit
Get
page
back
works.
to it.
Although I really quite like
Please.
the
He's going to
fixed
notice on the
CTI.
desk and he's going, oh
It
yeah,
works really well
right,
with the hardware
keyboard.
panel and the CTI. We've also got another new feature in the cut page called audio trimming. This new button here, if you click this button here, when you do an edit, it'll turn the clips into audio
cool.
waveforms. So it helps you do your trimming against the audio. And when you release, it goes away. The other thing we support
That's
is
cool.
alpha channel keying in the timeline now. So you can drop clips in with alpha channels. And there's also a new chroma keyer.
So much
so you can do
space
chroma keying in the
saved.
timeline. And there's actually more information in the edit video, which
Sorry,
I'll
keep
play
checking
next.
to see if we've got
Now we also have a
messages.
redesigned inspector. So if I go and click, there's an inspector button up here now. And you can
I'm
see
gonna
that
get
the information is now all ordered by topic.
some Skittles.
So it helps you organize yourself. You can see what's what, including metadata changes, video changes, and more. Now the inspector is common between the cut, edit, and media page, so you get some commonality. And also the inspector live updates. So let's have a look at that. So if you go to the audio and you do make some changes here, now when you scroll along, you'll see it live tracks. Now the inspector works on both the timeline and clips in your bin now. And you can also edit timecode and dates. So if your timecode and dates aren't right, you can also change those. So let's check that out. So if I've got a shot here, I go into the file, I can change the date, make that the 10th. You can also open transitions in Fusion, and there's more information on that in the Fusion video coming up. Now there's also been some big updates to the bin. It now correctly flattens the bin in the source tape. And that's really important because the source tape eliminates media management. You don't need to do media management with the source tape because you can visually browse. So let's have a look at that now. So I'll close the inspector. I'll click the source tape button here.
I'm doing some Skittles.
And you can see now
Take a portion.
all my media is flattened out, even though the media is inside a folder. But if you have a lot of clips, it can get really hard to manage. I've got one friend who's got over 200 hours of clips. You know, the client just keeps bringing in more and more media every day. So the
200
new bins
hours
are
of
much more
clips.
powerful in DaVinci Resolve 17.
Wouldn't know anything about
Now,
that,
we
huh?
have this new feature called bin dividers. So to see this, let's load in
Long
more media
videos.
so we can kind of create a large group of media. Now this media
It's
I'm going to
funny
load
'cause
into a
it,
different
no
job,
one's
but it helps to
watching
show
that.
how this all works. I've got some media from a cooking show video, so let's load that in. Now I've got all my media in the one bin. So now what you can do is
I'm
you can
sorry
see
about
the
the
bin
chewing
dividers
noises.
are actually showing us dates.
But
Now we
yeah,
can see these bin
some,
dividers even if we go into icon view or clip
Some
view.
Skittles.
There,
Should really be paying attention.
or even in list view.
That's real cool.
See there they are there. So as I'm scrolling through the source tape, I can see that it'll track me.
Whoa.
I can see what's going on.
Whoa.
I've got a lot of media here. Now we've also added
That's
new
so
sort
neat.
modes. So there's other sort modes that we can use, and the bin dividers will change based on the sort mode. So let's have a look at the sort menu here. You can see we've got a lot more items in it. So we can actually now sort by clip name. And you'll see the letters. So now the titles have become letters. Reverse sorted. Or I can even sort by clip color. But of course there's no color assigned to
Whoa.
any of these clips, so they're all the same.
Um,
And I can also
Or like-
sort by
like
scene and
tagged.
shot. Now you can see scene 1. Oops. Now the bin has an unsorted section for any clips that don't have metadata. but we can use the new inspector to organize these clips. So let's check that out. Now let's go into this clip here and we'll open the inspector up, go to file, and we can see we can actually, got no scene information in here. In fact, if we go and click on that one, you can see it says scene 1. I'll click on this one, it says there's no scene information. Now we can update these clips really quickly. I can select on auto select the next clip, so it makes it even faster. I can then type in scene 2 and enter. And now it's gone and automatically what it's done is it's gone and taken that clip, added scene 2 to it, it's sorted it into the bin to scene 2's location, and it's automatically selected the next clip that doesn't have any metadata on it. So I can just go through here and update each one of these. Let's make some of them scene 3 as well, so it'll give us some variation. And now you can see that the bin has sorted them all and they've all been assigned their spots. Now normally you just copy what's on the slates into this metadata here so that the clips would actually match the slates that have been done. Or obviously the metadata could come out of the camera and the clips, like these clips for example already say scene 1 because they come out of a Blackmagic Pocket Camera 4K and that has metadata support. But what it means is that the bin's always sorted correctly, even if you're going to the timeline and doing work on the timeline. I'll close my inspector. Or you go back, whenever you go back to the source tape, your bins are all resorted, you don't have to keep doing it all the time manually. Now another powerful feature is we can actually then focus the source tape by the metadata. So this is really exciting.
I still, when's he going to get back to this
little
little
zoom into a
keyboard
region
thing?
by pressing the source tape
I
button,
really want to know about it.
and it'll then focus on that region.
I don't
So
think I've
example,
seen
if
it
we're
before.
scrolling along and we're now in scene 2, if I push the source tape button again, it'll now only show me scene 2. So it means I can go into scene 2 and then work just on scene 2. If I push escape, it'll come back out. And if I scroll along, I'm in scene 3, push the source tape button, now it's in scene 3. Push escape, it'll go back. Normally the source tape, if you put an in and out point, pushing source will focus on the area between the in and out points. But if you don't
I like
have an in and out point
whoever's like
set,
handling
it'll
the
now
camera
focus on the
switching.
region. So now I'm in scene 1, I can go and click the source tape button again, and now it's showing me just
They're
the
doing a great job.
Winter Wonderland media from London, and it's not showing me that new cooking show stuff that I bought in because it's zoomed into scene 1 and all these clips are all being tagged as scene 1. Now you can do that with any type of metadata. But all this lets me move between scenes really quickly and then focus in and zoom into the scene that I'm working on and zoom back out when I want to see everything. Now all this works much faster on the speed editor, so let's just pop across here for a second.
Oh my god, here we go.
And
Speed
you can see how
editor
this all
time.
works. Because we've got
Cameraman.
these big buttons for the source tape and the timeline on here, so it's really quick. Now you'll notice it's actually running. If I scroll up and down the source tape, here you can see like there's nothing plugged in.
No, this is what I
So
was
obviously it's
excited
Bluetooth,
for.
and that's how it's working. It's got a couple of big batteries in it too.
Ah, Bluetooth.
So let's have a look and see how this works on the speed editor. So I can just scroll up, and if I push source, I go in, and I push escape, and I come back out again. I can scroll down here,
Can we not do picture in picture?
push source, and now I go into scene 2. And if I push escape, I come back out. And if I want to scroll down to the scene 1 media, I just push source, and there I am.
This is so cool.
So you can see really how fast that is. The speed editor makes it so much quicker to do this. It's much more and this is a much more natural way to navigate media. You know,
I
it's
really
really
like
based on what
this.
the shot is and not where it's kind of located on your disc. And from an editing point of view, that's much better. I mean, all the editing software is always focused much on really where your shots are on the disc, and that's not really the way you edit. What you want to know is what the shots actually are. So we think this is a whole new way to visually navigate media, and with this focusing, it's really much more exciting and it's much, much more powerful. So let's go back and we'll see what we can also do, because we can still navigate by file path. So let's have a look back here. Now, you might be getting folders of shots from clients, you know, and like my friend was, and you want to really look at the folder. You might be scrolling along and see something in the folder and go, hey, what else is in there? So we can show you that the file path feature in the new cut page is also
I feel
much
like you
more
brushed
powerful.
over that a little bit.
So you can
too
see the file
fast.
path up here now, and that's
I
showing the
like
folder
the
where
keyboard
the
thing.
media is. And as I
The
scroll
speed
around,
editor.
you can see the path
I wish you had done all
change.
of that segment on that.
So what that also means is I can navigate down the path as well as up the path. So if I click on that, now the source tape is showing me just the content in that folder. Now if I click back, I get everything. I can scroll along to these shots here, and I can then click on the cooking show. I can see just the cooking show clips. And every time I do it, the source tape rebuilds. So it allows me to navigate by file path if I really want to. And it rebuilds every time. Another problem we have is icon view is not very detailed. There's not a lot of information with it. And the list view has no image. You can see if I look at these three icon, these three bin views, there's just not a lot of information on them. This one doesn't have any
true.
visual of what you're doing, and this one
No
doesn't have a lot of
information.
information. So we have a new view
No
called
idea
metadata
on that one.
view. If you click on that, you can see we've got a metadata tile. In fact, I'll scroll.
Oh my
down
god,
the source
beautiful.
code.
It's like both of them together,
You can see everything.
but it's like
And you can see
nice.
the media there.
Oh, I just love this scrubbing and
So this
moving
lets you
around.
see the
Oh,
clip
look at
and
that.
its information. And the title
That's so
will change
cool.
based
Well
on the
done
type
to the
of sort you
devs.
do.
That
So for example, if I
seems
sort
like
by
a.
time
Oh no!
code, you'll see the title
Oh
change.
no! I can't hear
I
Steve
sort by
anymore.
time code, and you can see now it's a date and time code.
Like it seems like something that
If I
wasn't
sort
like
by
a
scene and shot,
particularly easy thing to pull
it
off.
goes back
But
to showing
maybe
the
it
scene and
was.
the shot.
I love it though.
And the title changes every time. All this makes editing scripted work a lot easier. And the bin dividers remove all the manual work of working out where you are. You can move from scene to scene. It's just seamless. You can zoom in, zoom back out again. You can select shots visually. It's all automatic and instant. As soon as you select the source tape, all this happens for you. It's all assembled for you automatically. So it's very exciting. Now there's also a lot of other cut page features, so I'll show you some of those now. Now DaVinci is much, much better at relinking clips. So if you've moved a folder, you can relink clips really quickly.
Thank God.
Let's go back to the clips and we'll have a look. What we'll do is we'll move one of our folders. We'll create a new folder here.
What a
and we'll
clean
move our
mark.
Winter Wonderland
You
media
know
into
someone's
there.
pro
Now the interface will
when
lost
that.
track
Whoa,
of
look.
media.
He just knows how to find things and how to
It's
use
all run
DaVinci.
offline. So if you move media and you want to relink, you can do that really easily.
No!
The relink icon's up here. It'll now show a relink. It'll enable. I can select a
I'm
location.
gonna have to find that man.
To the desktop, there's my untitled folder. There it is. And when I select it, it relinks all the media for me. There it is.
Oh my god.
So it's super
It's
fast
like
now to
magic.
relink media. There's now a whole new media manager as well, which lets you export
Black
projects
magic.
out and pass them to other people. So let's check that out. So we go into the media management. I get a new media manager window. I can export out a timeline, and I'll export out the edit I just did. I'll also create some low resolution proxies. Let's do something in 720p. What I'll also do is I'll put some handles on my media. And now what it's doing is it's rendering out all my content. Now this is in addition to the regular archive feature. The archive feature, you can take all your media and give it to someone. The problem is often that's too big to send. So what this allows you to do is send just the media for the single timeline, but only enough media to support it. And you can also, as I just did,
I don't
export
even have a
handles.
desktop.
And you can export the raw media or the transcode, and I just did a transcode. Now this means you can send the timeline and the media to another user, and they can then work that timeline and then return it back to you, and it'll relink back to the original media. So say, for example, if you wanted to send a timeline to a colorist so they could do a better color correction, they could send you back a new type of file called a DRT file, which is a DaVinci Resolve timeline file. When you load that back in here, it'll recreate the edit. So let's see how that works. What I do is I'll create a new
Cool.
project.
Fair out demo, dude.
And I'll load in my media that I just created on the desktop. It is there. And there's the shots I need. And I'll also load in my DRT file. Now the DRT file is a timeline file, so it's very small. There it is there, there's my timeline. So this is what it would be like if I was a colorist and I've just imported the media you've given to me and the timeline. So if I go to the color page and I select some of this, wow, look how small the color wheels are in this view. So I'll just create a horrible looking grade.
Blast.
It is there. So we go back to the cut page. Now what I can do is I can export out the file.
Come on, Steve.
I can export the timeline, desktop. Now if I go back to my other project, I can now see what the colorist has given me by importing that timeline file. There's my new color correction. That's got my terrible color grades in it. There it is there. And that's relinked back to the original media.
Orange.
So the great thing about this
Orange
is
and
only the
blue.
timeline file needs to be sent back. And the DRT timeline files are really small, so they can be emailed. Now the remote user can also send you constant updates. So if you've got someone who's doing a large job, and they're doing constant work, they could keep sending you DRT files back, and you can just keep loading them in. It'll link back to your original media, and you can see the work they're doing as they're progressing. There's also been some improvements in the viewer. We've got a full screen button now, so you can go full screen and play.
Love a bit of full screen
Probably should
action.
get rid of this, change back to my original edit because my color grade wasn't good. We've also got safe area and safe title markers now.
I could hear
Turn
the
on
discomfort in
the
his
menu for those.
voice.
You can set all kinds of
No.
aspect ratios.
I'm gonna have to go back to where I
There's also
was.
a better quick export menu.
Color
on that
grading
window
wasn't good.
as well
I was
now.
like
You can see
sweating
we've
in
got
his
the
color. Like, whew,
right
this is the
narrow,
worst job
gets
I've
better.
ever done.
So you can see there's some
Ooh,
really nice updates
that was
to
cool.
the cut page.
I
But
missed
now let's
that.
have a look at the speed
Quick
editor.
export.
So the big question, I guess, is why did we develop the
I
speed
think
editor?
that was
Well,
in
we didn't want to waste
current
space on
version.
a QWERTY keyboard, which we really felt like is probably
Yes.
designed sort of as a modification of a normal keyboard for traditional editing. But we wanted to design a keyboard specifically for the cut page. We wanted something to work better with laptops. We also wanted something that worked with your regular QWERTY keyboard. If you really like that keyboard, you can keep using it because it works
Yes.
in conjunction with it.
This is actually
Why it
like
was Bluetooth.
legit
So
what I
obviously,
would
as I
want to
mentioned before,
use.
it's Bluetooth and it's got an internal battery.
Because I mean,
Now, the
my
USB,
my
if you look at the
keyboard
back,
is
the USB can be used to charge it, or
it's
you can use it
just
with USB
this
if
Poco
you
2,
don't want to use
so
the
it's
Bluetooth.
dinky.
But the reason we did Bluetooth is there's no cable,
I would
so
love-
it sit in front of your normal keyboard, and that's really important.
I would
Now,
really
I've got an
like the
overhead
DaVinci
camera, so if we
keyboard.
cut to
but
that, we can have a look at the regions on
this
the
is
keyboard and
like
explain what's on here.
perfect. This is a perfect.
Now all
in
the
between.
transport controls are on the right-hand side here.
Did I miss the
There's a
price?
search dial on the right. That's a solid metal search dial with roller bearings. You got your shuttle, jog, and scroll buttons there.
No.
Now there's
I have to
timeline
wait a
and
minute and a half.
source tape selectors. You know, when you push the timeline, you're on the timeline. Push the source tape, you're back on the source tape, as we did before. Now you really use all this with your right hand. Your left-hand side is for your editing functions, and that is what you use with your left hand. So what it means is you're sort of editing with both hands. You know, you're kind of looking for shots here, and you're working with your left hand. Now there's really large in and out buttons. And so the top, sorry, before I mention that, I forgot about the editing functions. The editing functions are up here. And this is where you do your smart insert, append, ripple, overwrite, close up, place on top, and source overwrite buttons. And you've got the big in and out buttons here. You can find them by feel. There's a slight gap in here so you can find them. And then there's a whole bunch of trimming modes, and that's an incredibly powerful feature of this. And then there's transition types. You can select between types of transitions. Now in the top middle is the general functions. There's a whole bunch of random, well not random, but different functions here. In the lower middle is the camera controls for the sync bin, which I'll get to. And then of course you've got the play and stop bar, which is very traditional for a keyboard. So let's see what it can do and really show how fast it can be.
Please.
Now I've got a monitor just below the camera here, so it lets me actually use the speed editor here while I'm talking to you.
Oh my god!
And we
Don't
use the
tell
overhead
us.
camera so you can sort of see what buttons I'm pushing.
He's showing the behind the scenes.
And it'll be a bit more uncluttered than if I try to use it
Guy.
in front of the computer.
Yes,
So
we
it'll be
get
so-
that. Oh my god.
Now what I'll
This
do is I'll
dude,
create a
I
new
love him.
project.
Oh my god, he's
and
so
I'll import
naive.
the Winner Wonderland
I love him.
clips into that
Yeah,
so
we
can do some
understand that
edits
you
and
can see
see
the
how it works.
goddamn screen,
So I'll just
okay?
pop back here for a moment to do that.
Oh my god, okay. What are you doing? Damn it, I was too busy criticizing him. I'm sorry. Is he making a new project? Speed Racer, Speed Editor. Amazing.
And I'll load in some shots. Oops, I can do that here.
Sports Racer. Show me your power moves. Come on.
Oops, I've got my Winter Wonderland shots in there now.
Come on.
I'm also creating the
Steve. What's your power move? Come on.
So we've done that
Amazing.
now, and let's create some edits
Fantastic.
with the speed editor keyboard.
Oh
Now what
boy.
we'll do is we'll select the source tape so we can see what
Oh
shots
my
we want to
god.
get,
He has
And we'll
muscle
scroll
memory for
along.
this.
to see what we want to get. Now, what we want to do is we want to select these shots and put them in the timeline.
We've only seen him at
So
10%
scroll
of
around
his
looking
final
for
power.
nice shots. I'm just using the search tile. I'm using the scroll function. If I want to get really accurate, I can use jog. So let's get some of this shot there. That shot there looks good. Place an in point. I'll place an out point. This is a very fast way to find shots. And all I need to do is go and
I
add
wish it
in
was
with the
picture in
append
picture.
button. So I've got one shot in my timeline, and now we'll go and do it to another. So let's have a look around. Now I don't need to do anything. I can just keep looking for shots. There's an interesting looking shot. I'll append that. So I've got two shots on the timeline. So you just go along here looking for different shots. Now we can resize the viewer. There's a resize viewer button on here. And so if I push and hold this button,
Oh my god.
I can resize the viewer.
Oh, thank god.
So I can do that with the search
Whew.
bar. Now, because we're looking for source media, we'll actually make the viewer nice and big. Now, using in and out points is quite slow, so we can do it without doing in and out points. Now, you'll notice on the front of the smart insert and the pen buttons, there's a word clip. Now, the bunch of buttons on this keyboard have secondary functions, and in this case, by selecting those, I can insert the whole clip without needing to put in and out points. So let's clear the in-out points. And then we'll go along and we'll just put some clips in. So let's append a whole clip. Let's have a look for something. Let's find some of the fill. That looks pretty good. So let's put that in. That's the whole clip. And we'll look for another store. That looks pretty good. Append that. Just did an auto save. Let's see what else we've got. Scroll along, looking for something. Oh, that looks pretty good. I'll append that. I don't know why I got so many shots of food. That's probably a bad sign. So we've got a bunch of clips in the timeline. I just added those in just by pushing append. So you can see this is why it's so important we start the source.
Steve,
So you can roll along, looking for clips and drop them into the timeline. Well, now let's do some trimming. So we'll go back to the timeline. We can scroll along here and see some of these clips. Now we want to trim off a little bit of some of these clips so we can trim out. There's the trim out button here. So if you hold the trim out button, you can then trim and it live trims. I can also trim in. I can go down. Now you'll see that little smart indicator. See that little arrow there just above the edit point. That edit point shows you where it's going to trim. So you don't even have to do any in and out points or anything. You just have to hold trim. If I hold trim out, I can just scroll that back.
That's real cool.
If I go trim in, it'll do the next clip. I can scroll along here and do trim out, trim in. I can even trim out at the end. So you don't have to select.
This is like breaking up with a
You don't have to
mouse.
select any of the.
Like, who needs a mouse when you've got the speed editor?
You don't need to select any in and out points or anything like
Oh
that.
my god.
So the great thing
This
about
is so
that is that
cool.
you can just, like, I think trimming is probably one of the most powerful functions of the keyboard and makes it so fast.
This is so well
So now we've done
thought
some
out.
trimming. Let's go and add some dissolves. Now
Here we go.
you can
Time to
select
dissolve and
transitions down the
resolve.
bottom here just by turning on and off. So normally you've got to drag and drop transitions, or you can do a keyboard shortcut. We have a button that allows you to turn on and off dissolves. So let's do that. So go to the front of the timeline. I can pretty much push a dissolve, scroll along,
Neat.
and add transitions. Now everything's got a nice dissolve. I can play, and I've got my nice transition. And I can do additional trimming.
Neat.
Another thing I do is I can remove the dissolves just as quickly. So let's have a look at that. So if I roll along here, I can pretty much go along here and remove the dissolves
Cool.
just as fast. Now, I can also change the default duration of a dissolve, or I can change the duration. So if I put a dissolve back in, I can go along here and I can go transition duration, and I can change the length of it. So say if I want faster transitions that are 10 frames long, oops, there I am there. Now I can make that the default transition duration. So the way I do that is I double press, and that's because it's got a set key on the front. And if I double press the transition duration, now that'll be the default transition duration. So if I go along and then create my transitions now.
Well, cool.
I missed one back there. Now they're all the same format, so I can change those anytime I like. Now some of the other rep modes is I can roll transitions and slip and clips. So let's have a look at that. So if I come down here, I can roll by pushing this roll button here. I can roll the transition up and down the timeline. I can also slip the clip. I can slip clips either side. I've got slip in, slip source. So I can slip the clip there, or I can slip the destination clip. I can also move a clip up and down the timeline, and that's very fast. So let's have a look, see how that works. So if I hold the move button, the clip will highlight, and I can just drag it down and then release it. And now it's moved the clip up and down the timeline. I have a nice full screen button up here. If I want to play full screen, I can just.
I feel like I'm sold
full
already.
screen button.
It's too cool.
Play.
I'm gonna look it up.
Push this out to go out of that. Now, if I'm working and I want to trim and edit, what I can do is I might want to review that last edit. So if I double press
I mean, I don't have the
screen
cash
button,
for it right now.
it'll now take me a couple of seconds before the
But
edit point.
if I'm in
and then
fellow
play through
for
it.
2
So
months,
it's a really fast
and
way of
I'm really into this
reviewing an edit
video
in full screen.
editing thing,
And if I double press it again,
then I might
it goes right back to the
get
same
it.
spot.
But I really like it. I really like it. Like a
There's
lot.
also a button to adjust the audio level of a clip. I've got the audio level button just
Like,
here.
probably
So I
way
hold that,
too
I can
much.
adjust the audio up and down. You can see it there as I adjust the search dial. You see the audio level going up and down on the clip. I can also add markers anywhere I want.
It
If I double
doesn't
press,
exist yet.
the word marker is in front of the audio level button. So if I double press it, now I get a marker.
Robot magic.
So I can add markers if I need to fix something later. I want to come back to it. And in fact, if I want to change the color of the marker, it'll put down the marker that's on the right-hand side of the user, on the left-hand side of the user interface, just on the left of the timeline, lower timeline
cool.
ruler. If I want to change the marker color, I double press and hold, and it'll bring up a nice marker color window. So I can select a new
You
marker
can do
color.
the little twisty thing.
Scroll
Oh,
and now the markers
Cool.
will be
Oh,
colour.
it's so well thought out. It's so well thought
There's
out.
also a snapping function, but snapping works a
Oh,
little
I
bit
love
different with
things
the
that
speed
move the
editor.
industry.
When you're using snapping in the UI, it tends to be magnetic. It'll snap onto the edit point. With the speed editor, what it'll do is it'll pause as you scroll
Oh,
through
he's
the,
on all of their videos.
the edit point. So if I turn snapping on, there's a lead indicator to highlight it there. There it is there. Now as I scroll along, it'll stop and pause for a moment on markers, and it'll also pause on edit points. So it'll pause for a certain number of degrees of rotation of the search dial. That's how that works. Now, I can also insert new clips and keep the transitions with the speed editor as well. So if I go to the source tape and I go along and look for a new clip, so I want to get a bit of that.
In a minute. Don't snap. Don't snap. No snap.
When I go and do a smart insert,
He's
include the
doing some
transition
great
that was
things.
at that in point when I put the clip in. So that's really nice.
Steve
too.
is
Now there's
the
other
pro.
edit modes
He's
in
the
the
real.
keyboard that are much smarter because
the
they're
real
designed
dude.
to work with the keyboard.
But I do
like
want the
place
keyboard.
on top, for example, places a clip on top of the current layer in the timeline.
Please don't
Ripple
snap my
override
keyboard.
will replace the clip in the timeline, and if the new clip is a different length, it'll basically just accommodate it. So if it's shorter or longer, it'll basically change the space and swap out a clip. The close-up function is really smart. It uses some image recognition to do close-ups of people when they're talking. And it also now in DaVinci Resolve 17 copies the color grade. So when you do a close-up of a shot, if it's got a color grade on it, it'll copy the color grade to the close-up clip. But one of the most unique edit modes is actually called source override. It's extremely powerful for cutaways. So what I'll do is I'll do a quick multicam project, and you can see really how that works. So I'll go back over here and create a new project. So go over here, go new project.
I don't imagine it's going to be more than a couple of hundred, if that.
I'll create a new timeline.
Although their keyboard at the minute
I'll
is
also bring in
quite
our
pricey.
multicam media.
So
Which is our cooking show stuff. Now I'll come back to the speed editor and I can
optimistic.
click source tape. I can find my wide shot. Now what I want to do is lay down a base layer from the wide shot. So I'll scroll along and have a look.
Fine by
Oh, there it is. So I'll go, well, actually I can just push the append button and it'll drop that whole clip down into the timeline. So there it is there. Now what I want to do is I want to create some cutaways. Now the first thing I'll do is I'll set it to video only, because once I've got my base layer, I've also got my audio track. Now what I want to do is find some video cutaways and drop them in. This is where it shows you what the source override function really does. It's very powerful. So let's go back to my source tape. Let's look along and find, oh, I've got some nice shots there. Well, actually, let's get the shots here where they're using the, they're cutting things. Let's have a look at that. So she's cutting something here. So if I go and create an in point on that, an out point, I can show you how the source override function works. So now I've got that
So I
shot.
just
Now,
have
the
to
great
wait
thing about
until he
source
tells
override,
us.
it'll place the shot in the timeline on the layer above, synchronized to that base layer, because this is a different camera view. So let's go and push source override, and there it is there. Now if I go to the timeline and have a look at that, I'll see that cuts away nicely. So, and that's all synchronized. So you don't need to care about what you're doing. You can pretty much just run along looking for good cutaways. Anytime you find anything, you can drop another cutaway. So let's find another cutaway. There, she's doing something there. Well, let's find a different, we'll go to a different camera actually. Oh, the walk, this will be good. Yeah, there's some good stuff here.
There's some good stuff in this walk.
Let's find, oh, that's good. That bit there, let's have a look at that. Put an in point. Out point, source override. Let's look for something else. While she's putting in the ingredients. In, out, source override. So I can just pretty much go along and add in cutaways. And there's all my shots, and they're just laid on top. And you see they're perfect cutaways. Now that's great. You can just run along looking at all your camera sources, find different cutaways and drop them in, and they'll synchronize to the timeline for you. So it's very fast to use, but the problem is, what happens if you have multiple cutaways? This is where it gets really exciting, and this is what the sync bin is for. So the button up here for the sync bin, if I press that, what it does is it goes off and gets all my synced angles that synchronize to this point in the timeline and shows you all those angles at the same time. So you can see them all there. And I've got 6 different angles. So as I scroll along the timeline, I've got a bunch of different views and I can work out what to do. Now this is kind of the reverse of looking at cutaways, because before what we did is we added, we found a shot and added it to the timeline using the source override. The question, of course, is which cutaway? The sync bin shows us all the camera angles all at the same time. It tracks when we scroll along the timeline, so you can see what all the different angles are. And it means it does all the work for you. It's kind of like having an assistant editor that goes off and gets things. And this panel is really, really good for using the sync bin. So let's have a look at a shot number and we'll go and find something else to add in. There's a good bit there where she's using camera 2. So we'll push camera 2. And you see it's automatically selected in an out point for us. Now we can trim that out point. So we can give a little bit more. I can even trim the in point back a little bit where she's stirring, and I can go and add that source override. Then I can go along and see what else we've got. There's a bit where she's putting something in the block there. So we can go camera 1. I can trim the out of that. And I can do a source override on that. So that's all pretty good. So that's all there is to it. You just go along and you can find which source is the best source and you can add that in. Now, one thing worth noting, if you've selected one of the camera numbers, say you camera number 2 and you don't want to select that,
like this
there's
is
an
all
escape
to
key up on the keyboard
control
here, so you
people's
can push that.
attention
In fact, if you double push escape,
in the best
it does undo.
and most pleasurable
But if you
way
push escape, you come out of the camera. If you push the
for
camera
like
number, you go into the
whatever
camera.
purpose
Push escape, you come back out of the camera. So if you don't like the camera you've selected, I don't want that one, just push escape and you come back out of it. Now that's really fast, but there's an even easier way of doing that than this. So let's have a look, and it's called live override. So if we scroll down the timeline a bit to where there's some action, I think there's a bit where she's plating up. So have a look where that is. Yeah, that's the bit down there. There's a bunch of stuff happening here. So let's have a look here. Now what we can do is we really like camera number 1 here. So if I hold camera number 1 and scroll along, it'll now live overwrite that into the timeline. I can scroll along until she's moved away from something else, and then she puts the plate down on camera 2. So I want to go to camera 2. So I can drop camera 2 down. That looks good. I can go back to the wide shot, bit of that. And then I really like camera 3. That looks pretty good. You can see putting something in camera 3. So you can hold that down. There it is there. So you can see how powerful live override is. It basically just paints the shot into the timeline automatically. And you can see how easy it is to do a bunch of cutaways. But it's really quite easy to bump the jog knob. When you release, it'll finish on the out point. But the jog knob's a little bit sensitive, and so I'll turn off snapping. So you can bump it a little bit. Sometimes you can put jump cuts in, like little gaps in the timeline. So the speed editor has a dedicated live override button. So what that means is it transforms the keyboard into a bit like a switcher. So if I turn live override on, it acts a bit like a switcher. So the camera number buttons are lit up. So for example, which camera number do I like? Say I like camera number 1. So now when I scroll along, it'll scroll along, and undo is scrolling backwards. So I scroll along, and I kind of like camera 4. Now I push camera 4.
This is so cool.
Oh, actually, I'm going to go back and change that because I quite like camera 2. There's camera 2.
That's so cool.
And
there is something
camera 6
like
looks quite interesting.
so magical about
Basically,
that.
I'm just switching across and scrolling along, adding clips. So it's as simple as that. Just scroll
That's
along
so much of
and
a
add
better
clips.
way of editing
Now the
than
transition type is indicated on the bottom
doing
here.
this shit
And I've been doing cuts.
with
But
the
I can
keyboard
push
and
dissolve,
mouse.
and now what it'll do is it'll
by
transform
default.
into dissolves. I can also push the transition button up here. So what I can do now is when I scroll along, everything will be a dissolve. So if I
Especially
scroll
with
along,
time synced stuff like this.
and go to 6.
I love
Oops,
it.
sorry, I want to go to 4. It'll do a dissolve to 4. And that'll be the default transition. Go back to 6. Oh, go to 3. I like 3 there. And everything's now a dissolve. So that's pretty cool. Instead of selecting just dissolves, I can also select transitions from the transition palette there. And then when I select a shot, I'll go to camera 1. Then I'll add those transitions. And they're different again. Back to camera 3. And maybe camera 2. And so on. And then if I go back to the timeline, now I've got all my cutaways and I've got the manual transition. And I can, of course, change that transition just by holding down the transition palette. I might want to change to a ripple wipe. So you can still do all the trimming that you'd like to do. I can roll the edit. If I don't like the edit points, I can do all that. So I can scroll along, and there's my edit. So you can see how fast that is. Now, what's really funny about this is that if that's not even fast enough, let's go back a little bit, and I'll show you something we added as a bit of fun. So I'll go back to this point here. I'll go back into the sync bin, and I'll turn the live overwrite function back on. Now, we thought it'd be really funny is if a lot of times when you're editing, say, a music video or something like that. It doesn't really matter what camera you cut to, and really quite on the duration that you are either. So we thought it'd be funny to create a random function. So if you push the live override button twice, it's got the word random on the front. It'll just pick a camera source and of a roughly random duration and just put it down. And if you keep doing it, it'll keep placing transitions.
Don't even need to think.
I can push dissolve and
Just
it'll do
randomize it all.
dissolves.
I love it. That's so funny.
And now, this is not really the best media for it. But if I go back to the timeline, now I've got pretty much a random edit. Oops, go back to the timeline. And I've got this sort of random edit that if that was a music video or something, that can be a lot of fun. And you can, sometimes it works quite well. But again, you can go in and trim if you need to trim. So I've really only shown you, editing shots from a single camera, and I've shown you some multicam editing. But you can really see how much faster this is. So we think the speed editor is going to be really exciting.
That's so cool.
Now, the speed editor is just starting production now. It'll be priced
$300.
at $295, and we think it's going to be very affordable and really help people adopt this sort of new way of editing.
That's kind of what I expected.
It's a really great combination of the hardware and software working together.
More than
but we'll be introducing it with a special offer.
Ooh.
What we're going to do is we're going to bundle the keyboard, the speed editor, free with DaVinci Resolve Studio. So if you purchase DaVinci Resolve Studio at the $295 price, the keyboard will be included free. Now, if you buy DaVinci Resolve online, we can't do that because there's weird tax problems around the world. But if you buy it through a reseller, then we'll be able to get the keyboard and bundle that. So it'll be really exciting. So it means you don't need to buy both. You don't have to buy the DaVinci Resolve Studio and the keyboard.
God damn.
You can just buy the DaVinci Resolve Studio and get the keyboard for free. Now, this is just an introductory offer. It'll be available for the next few months, but we think it should be really exciting.
Over the next few months.
So moving on, the next step is the edit page. Now, we've got some really nice updates to the edit page as well. Now,
I think you said like December
to share more features
was
between
in
the
the
edit and
thing.
the
I
cut
might
page.
rewind
But
it
we've really
real
been
quick.
focused on the cut page for speed because the pages have different
Where's my
uses.
mouse?
So we've really been focused on the
If
individual
only I had
pages
the
for the
speed
moment.
editor to
But you will
switch where
see
my
in
mouse was.
future updates some
There we go.
cross-pollination between the cut and people adopt this sort of new way of editing.
Available
Priced at
now
$295,
apparently in
and we
stock.
think
So I
it's
guess
going to be
now.
very affordable
Wow.
and really help people adopt this sort of new way of editing. It's a really
So maybe I can order it. Maybe I can convince.
To set up and sync angles
Oh my
on the
God.
edit page timeline.
I'm
You can let Resolve
stoked.
do the hard work of aligning multiple
I
clips
get
using
for
either
free,
timecode
essentially.
or audio waveforms. Once you have your clips synced, it's now simply a matter of creating the multicam clip directly from a timeline or compound clip. Perfect for ensuring the different angles are set up and aligned just the way you need. DaVinci Resolve 17 now supports better handling of interlace footage for both editing and delivery. New options in the project settings allow you to deinterlace the footage using the DaVinci Resolve neural engine for much higher quality results when integrating archive footage in your progressive edits. And there is now full support for interlaced timelines. With the option enabled, all footage, including motion graphics and keyframed animations, are processed at the field level for smooth interlaced results. You can even step through the individual fields directly on the timeline. Adjusting a traditional 16:9
I'm gonna see whether I can
timeline
get
for
one of
the
those, 'cause
square
I
or
haven't bought
portrait
Resolve,
delivery
so.
formats
I'm
common
having
to
a problem with
online and
DaVinci Resolve
social
16
media
when it opens the
used to
account,
mean
if I
resizing
make
and manually
changes.
tracking
Or it was working
content to the
before.
new aspect ratio. In DaVinci Resolve 17, Smart Reframe uses the
What
DaVinci
sort of GPU
Resolve
do you
neural
use?
engine to automatically identify the main focus of the
And
shot,
what
adding
platform are you
keyframes where
running?
necessary to keep
Because I know
that
Linux
subject in
problems.
frame.
So if you happen to be using Linux, then I can help you. If you're not using Linux,
DaVinci
then I
Resolve
can't.
17 gives editors even more tools and enhancements
Sorry.
to build commonly required visual effects without requiring you to leave the comfort of the edit page. The new 3D Resolve effect keyer lets you perform keying tasks
GTX
using
1060,
intuitive
okay.
on-screen effect controls to
Windows, yeah,
select,
completely far out of my
refine,
ballpark. Sorry.
and mask the matte, all without the need to go to the Fusion or color pages.
Maybe try reinstalling the Studio driver.
And you can now use internally and
That's
externally
the best I
generated
can recommend.
traveling mattes by using the new composite mode
Maybe that'll
options
help.
to specify the alpha or luma mattes and the foreground layer to combine multiple images together for creative results. When looking for effects in the effect library, new thumbnails for transitions, titles, or
This is so
filters
cool, though.
provide a live preview of that effect.
I really like
making
this
it quicker
effect.
to locate and select the exact
It does
effect
sound
you're after.
annoying.
And for editors, there are some essential
It's
new
so
creative
finicky,
effects to
software.
choose from.
But once you get it
The new
working, you're like,
transform
yeah,
effect
this
allows you to
works.
distort your image.
Um,
Using the overlays, you can stretch, squeeze,
well, maybe install
and
an
pull
older
in
driver.
an image quickly.
um,
Changing the composite mode to soft light
yeah, maybe it's the new driver just has some
and
like
adding a couple of
incompatibility.
keyframes
Ooh.
really helps sell this final effect.
Yeah, I'm not convinced. It doesn't sell the final effect to me.
The brand new video collage effect
Ooh.
allows you to build complex but uniform composites.
Ooh. 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 There
And
we
then
go.
quickly animate them on and off screen using
Yum.
simple built-in
I'm
presets
stoked.
or
I'm
manual
stoked to see it.
keyframing.
Ah, they're not doing fly, they're doing fade. Cool. Look how professional it is.
Use it
Wow.
to set up simple yet effective split
My
screen
little YouTube
and
channel.
picture-in-picture
Circles.
effects,
Yes.
or use it to just simply
Oh,
enhance your graphics.
yeah, circle video. Ooh,
The new
boy.
proxy editing workflow dramatically improves
Love a good
performance
circle
for projects
video.
which
Yeah.
use high quality
Unrevealable.
media, allowing
Yeah, no
for a
problem.
smoother
Good luck with it.
editing experience. From the project settings,
I don't know how you've
choose the
managed to get here,
resolution
by the way. Did you just find me in
format,
search or something?
and location
I don't
where
recognize
your
your
proxy
name.
files will be created. Then select the clips in the media pool and choose Generate Proxy Media.
Nice.
Alternatively, you can link to any type of externally generated proxy media.
Yep. Hmm.
Simply select a folder of proxy media and Resolve will automatically align it to the appropriate clips in the media pool.
I need to put that finder on dark mode. Jesus
And
Christ.
the original media is only a click away. Just turn off the menu option to bypass any proxies and use the original media for grading and effects work. You can choose to include the available proxy media when creating project archives.
How long have I
Or
been
simply
watching this? Hour and
selecting
a
the
half.
proxy
It feels
media
like a lot
option
longer.
on its own
This is
will
fun.
allow you to create a more compact and portable project archive, allowing you to easily transport entire projects between edit systems, whether on hard drive or via cloud storage. These are just a few of the many enhancements that DaVinci Resolve 17 brings to your editing workflows.
So you can see some really nice features in editing in
Steve?
DaVinci Resolve 17. You know, some of the features are common between the two pages, but we think both ways of editing are very powerful. And you can always switch between the pages or use both, so that's really nice. Now we've also had done some good updates for Fusion as well. There's much better integration with editing.
Heck
So let's
yeah.
play the Fusion demo video and have a look, and we'll see what's new in
Yeah,
Fusion.
Fusion time.
The Fusion page in DaVinci Resolve 17 introduces several new features. These include Fusion effect templates, shape nodes,
I
an
love
anim
circular
curves
video.
modifier, the ability to convert and modify transitions,
Big fan.
audio playback
Whoa,
and
that was
waveforms,
blowing out
and
of
several
text.
user interface
Cool.
updates. Fusion effect templates are Fusion compositions that can be used
Whoa.
as plugins on
Whoa.
the edit or cut page.
Glitchy.
This brings the power of Fusion's tools to an editor's
Night vision
fingertips.
glitch.
As an added bonus, these templates are stored as text files that are small enough to email to people on your team or share online with the wider DaVinci Resolve community.
This is literally a
On
solution
the
to a
Fusion
problem
page, you
that I
can
have
use
right
almost
now.
any 2D or 3D node to create your desired effect. Once you've created your desired effect,
Awesome.
you
This
package
is so
this into
funny.
a template by selecting your Fusion
I
nodes
love it.
and
I love his
selecting Create
notes.
Macro. The macro window allows you to select which parameters to display on the edit page. You can also change the name of parameters, starting default value, and minimum and maximum ranges in the macro window. This helps simplify the template so it's easy to use and tweak on the edit or cut page. Back on the edit and cut page, this plugin is now available to apply to any clip and adjust to get the final result you want. You can also create Fusion Effect templates that make use of more than one clip to create a multi-layered effect.
Ooh.
The Fusion page in DaVinci Resolve 17 introduces a new category of nodes called Shape Nodes. These nodes are designed to generate, modify, and render vector shapes.
Whoa.
They are perfect for a variety of motion design projects like graphics, commercials, or title sequences.
Goodbye, Electron.
When creating animated templates for titles, transitions, or effects,
It's a
the new Anim
speedboat
Curves modifier allows
of the
that animation
sky.
to easily scale based on the clip's duration. That means the templates automatically adjust to fit the length of the clip or transition, even if you change the duration on the timeline. In this node tree, we modify the X parameter of a transform node with Anim Curves. This will animate the image from left to right. In the inspector, under the Anim Curves modifier, there are a variety of controls. Scaling controls the stretching or squishing of the animation, and offset controls the starting point. Now comes the really powerful part. You can adjust the curve setting to change the interpolation from linear to easing or to a custom setting that allows you to draw your own animation curve. For this clip, we choose Sine Curve to create a smooth start and finish. Back on the edit page, the animation scales properly as the length of the animation changes. Now, any transition can be converted to a Fusion Cross Dissolve. This allows you to customize a transition however you would like using Fusion's toolset. To modify a transition, we add any standard transition to the timeline. Then, via the pop-up menu, we convert the transition to a Fusion Cross Dissolve, then open that transition in the Fusion page. Media in 1 represents the first clip, and Media in 2 represents the second. We can modify the Fusion Cross Dissolve by opening the group and changing the dissolve node's operation. For example, a gradient wipe allows the artist to connect an arbitrary gradient to be used as the wipe source.
That's so cool.
In this example, fast noise and displacement
really like
nodes
that.
are used to create a distortion effect. By using the Anim Curves modifier, we ramp this distortion effect from 0% to 100% on clip A and 100% to 0% on clip B. This modified transition can be used as is, or similar to Fusion Effect templates, it can be saved as a transition template. On the edit or cut pages, this transition will appear in the Fusion Transition section and can be added and modified like any other transition.
Cool. Love it. Love it. Big fan.
Audio playback and visual waveforms are now available on the Fusion page. This makes syncing VFX to a musical beat, sound effects like gunshots, or audio cues from a narrator a snap. Customizable toolbars allows an artist to create their own toolbars tailored for their needs or a specific task. Edit and cut page timeline markers are now visible and editable on the Fusion page.
I could have it cut it to a circle. I could have it cut it to a circle.
Node editor bookmarks have been added to help Fusion artists quickly navigate large node trees. Bookmarks can be manually created and are also automatically generated when you use underlays. New advanced optical flow processing brings significant speed increases for retimes, frame repair, and other operations that use optical flow.
I love this.
Lastly, additional GPU-accelerated Resolve effects tools are now available on the Fusion page. This includes utility operations like film grain and noise reduction, and also high-quality creative effects like lens reflections and analog damage. No matter if you're an experienced Fusion artist or an editor trying it out for the first time, there are incredible new features and enhancements available to you on the Fusion
Does anyone
page.
use these effects outside of
that's a
like
really nice
colleges?
update for Fusion. Plus the rendering speeds have been really increased, which is nice.
No,
Now Fusion's popular with visual effects artists, but it's also great for titles too. And we're finding a lot of broadcasters
like those
starting to
like
use it for
presets,
graphics.
not like
Yeah, because it's got a true 2D and a 3D
effects in general.
workspace, so it's really, really powerful. It's much more powerful than simple title generators. So one of the last things I wanted to talk about is collaboration. Now this has become more important since COVID. So what we're doing today, we're announcing we're going to make the collaboration free of charge for both DaVinci Resolve, the free version, and DaVinci Resolve Studio. So you'll just be able to download it. Now we think this will help people work together. Collaboration will be the free download. You just go and download it manually. Now at the moment, it'll work with both versions. As I said, it'll work with both versions of DaVinci Resolve, but we haven't had time to actually build a special installer for it. At the moment, it's still actually bundled with DaVinci Resolve Studio. So what we'll do is before DaVinci Resolve 17 goes final, we'll basically make a separate installer, and that'll be downloadable from our website directly. So you've got to keep an eye out for that, and then you'll just be able to download it. But we thought it might be a good idea to show you a video on some of the capabilities of DaVinci Resolve collaboration and really show you how powerful it is. So let's play the video, and we'll show you how the multi-user collaboration works with DaVinci Resolve.
Using Resolve's collaboration tools, multiple artists can organize, edit, color, mix audio, and create visual effects at the same time. When working with multiple editors or assistants, timelines work on a first-come, first-served basis. The first person to open a timeline has ownership as indicated by the red playhead. If your playhead is gray, someone else is already working on that timeline and you won't be able to make changes. However, you can still play back and review it with all the current updates. Once the changes have been made by the owner, a refresh icon appears in the upper right corner of the timeline viewer to let you know that the timeline has
This
been
is so
modified.
cool.
Clicking the icon updates the timeline to the most recent cut.
This is like Google Docs,
Bins also work on a first-come, first-served basis. A
but
bin
with
is locked and is displayed
with
with the
video
team
editing.
member's color if they have it selected. You can also right-click the bin and select Lock Bins to keep other editors from making any changes even if you select another bin. The bins you lock have a lock icon next to them, and the other members of your team will see your collaborator icon color next to that bin. If you need access to a lock bin, the chat functionality is a great way to ask for another editor to release that bin. The color page works a little differently in the sense that it is clip locking instead of timeline locking. This means you can have a colorist or multiple colorists working at the same time in the same timeline. When you are on a clip in the timeline, your collaborator icon will appear on the clip on other members' workstations. This lets everyone know who has ownership of that clip. The colorist can set a look on a clip, then send a message to another colorist via the chat function and ask them to match grade the look. Using multiple colorists allow you to move at a much faster pace through the material. Once the grades have been updated, you will see the refresh icon appear in the upper right corner of the clip. Jumping to that clip will immediately refresh it to the current grade so you can see the new look. You can also see these changes occurring in real time on the edit page. Just as when you are updating your timeline, you will see a refresh icon appear in the upper right corner of the clips that have been updated in the color page. Clicking the refresh icon will update the color on the edit page. Like the color page, the Fusion page also uses clip locking. Similar to the color page, a VFX artist can work on the Fusion page while other artists work in the same timeline on any of the other pages. When you are on a clip in the timeline, your collaborator icon will indicate to the other team members who has ownership of that clip. In this collaborative environment, a lead VFX artist can quickly QC other artists' work or make tweaks immediately. A lead artist can also set up a composite tree and message another artist to take over and finish some final tasks like rotoscoping, or have another artist copy those nodes and apply them to similar shots. Once you have locked picture, you are now ready to move on to the final mix. All you need to do is move to the Fairlight page and begin. Like the edit page, the timeline is first come, first serve. If you open a timeline, you can tell you have ownership when your timeline playhead is red. On other member stations, your playhead will look gray. You will not have the ability to make changes, but you do have the ability to play back the mix for anyone to review. Just as when you are on the edit page, you will be able to see any updates that are made on Color and Fusion in real time. With the collaboration features in DaVinci Resolve 17, your entire team can work simultaneously on the same project to edit, grade, composite, and mix faster than ever before.
That's so cool.
So you can see collaboration has a lot of power. It's integrated so well into DaVinci Resolve, and it's used by a lot of high-end facilities. It's powerful enough for big feature films, but we think more people can benefit from it, which is why we want to make it free of charge. So DaVinci Resolve 17, it's a big update. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make a public beta available today. You'll be able to download it once the website goes up. It'll be DaVinci Resolve 17 will be a free update for all DaVinci Resolve customers.
Heck
We think it's the
yeah.
biggest update in the history of DaVinci. You know, it's got a lot of really
I mean,
polished
it has got a
features,
bunch of stuff.
and I think this will really upgrade the
stoked.
work you do. It'll be really exciting.
I'm
So
stoked.
that's about
I'm
all we
stoked
have
to
for
get
this
into video
update.
editing, like more hardcore.
I want to thank the engineering team who've worked really hard on this update and really
We've got
long
the-
hours in
we've
some
got the
difficult
beta here.
conditions, often working from home. And other features in DaVinci Resolve 7 take a long time to develop too, and we think they've done a fantastic job. Also, again, thanks to the DaVinci Resolve community. You guys have created some fantastic feedback, and we've had some great conversations, even without trade shows. We've still been able to have great conversations. Now, there's a new website for DaVinci Resolve. The marketing team have been working really hard on it. They've done a great job. It includes a lot more information about DaVinci Resolve, especially if you're a new user and you want to learn about some of its key functionality. We also want to thank people who've upgraded to DaVinci Resolve Studio. Those upgrades pay for engineering. Obviously, so do sales of keyboards and, well, not that keyboard because we're giving it away for free, but sales of keyboards and audio consoles and color panels also help us pay for engineering, and that just makes DaVinci Resolve even better. So we hope you like the new DaVinci Resolve 17. We hope, of course, to be able to catch up and talk soon. We hope you really like this update, and we can't wait to see how you use the new features.
I really enjoyed
that's always
that.
the most
That was so
exciting
sweet.
as well. So thanks very much for watching, and take care and talk soon. Bye.
I really love the keyboard. I really liked Steve. Big fan of Steve. Alright. Oh boy. Okay. What else? We are still here keeping company to your excitement. I'm stoked. Thank you for keeping company to my excitement. Okay, we're done with that now. Let me move myself to far cam to here, and then I'm just gonna have a quick go to the Blackmagic site. Ooh, white window. Okay. Okay, so I apologize for the badly reskinned site. Edit keyboards. Why is there a download button? No, it's download button for Resolve. So this is the new keyboard thing here. This DaVinci Resolve Speed Editor. It's so nice. I hope it. Well, no, it will work with the Linux version. Come on, what am I talking about? They're not silly. Bluetooth. Yep. Find a reseller. That's what I want. That's what I want. Okay, we're in. Well, I'm in the United Kingdom. So we've got Scan Computers, Jigsaw 24, Big Picture Media. They're the three official. Oh yeah, I'm not a human. I'm a dancer. Right. This. Next. Okay. This. That's a dirt bike. That's a boat. Okay. Come on. No keyboard yet on scan. I guess also no keyboard here. Let me check this DaVinci thing here. No, this is. Oh, 225, 270 with VAT, yeah. Are we human? Or are we dancing? Keyboards. Actually, no, we just go. Yeah, hello, Blackmagic Design keyboard. Let me just click this little the tiniest X in existence. And then, oh, goddamn. Blackmagic. No. Tiniest button, please. Why would you do this? Okay. Black magic, please. Okay. Can I have more? No. Okay. See, if you buy the thing, the speed editor, you get a free you get a free copy of Resolve. But I don't know where you can even buy where you can even buy it, where you can even buy the speed editor. The pain. Oh, I wanted to check used equipment. I know that this is all like post-prod stuff, but look at the price. 20 grand for a 4K 31-inch OLED monitor. No longer found. Having a good old slap of some sand. Good on you. Are we human? Or are we dancing? Boo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Boo-doo-doo-doo. Boo-ba-doo-boo-boo. Boo-ba-doo-boo-boo. So you don't have the original pocket. Oh no, they don't. So pricey. I can't afford to buy a new Blackmagic camera. But I am gonna get a copy of Resolve in the next few days, whether I can get it with the editor or not. If I can get it with the editor, I'll just cry. I'll fall in on myself and cry because it's just so beautiful and wonderful. Okay. Yeah, it's very over. Okay. Well, that was fun, wasn't it? That was a fun change of pace from my usual content. Whatever my usual content is. We had some people drop in. Didn't we, Nada? It wasn't just us. We had a whole 34 playbacks. But I do hope that we can that I can get a hold of one of these speed editors, because I like the dongle anyway. Yeah, we can stay a little longer. I'm gonna see what my subscriptions look like right now. Oh, it's just me. And sort of boring things. Except for my friends, of course. They're not boring. Not really anything like I can go watch. What an interesting group of recommended stuff. You really tell what I've been looking at. Oh. Okay. I think I might go. That was fun. I think that tomorrow you have something interesting. What is it? Because really the show's over now. We should all go home. And what is it? Because I'll stay around for that. Take a photo of this. Wait, short and funny. What is it? Just tell me what it is. Come on, hurry up. If this is YouTube poop, I'm gonna be very upset. Or is it like him fighting himself? Yeah, I've seen this. This is quite funny, but I'm not gonna play it. Sorry. I know it though, it is funny. And you could see that I saw it. There was a little red bar and everything. Okay. I'm gonna head off. That was real fun. Over the next couple of weeks, I think I'm gonna be learning a bunch of things, including DaVinci Resolve, and I'm gonna be probably streaming most of it. I think I have an idea of how I want to do the recording and stuff. You'll see. Okay. I think it's time to head off. Can I actually download this as a Linux one? Download now. Yes, I can. I could download it like this. It was great. Thank you for joining in. Take care. Stay hydrated. And see you later. Bye bye.